The story begins by introducing Lo Ki-won, a 30-year-old man who fled his own country in search of a better life. Initially traveling with his mother to an area in China, but an incident ensued, prompting the police to search for him, resulting in his mother's demise. Forced to seek refuge elsewhere, he embarked on a journey to another country to survive. Upon landing in Belgium, Ki-won finds himself with a group of individuals receiving instructions from a man. They are foreigners using fake passports to enter Belgium. After disembarking from the plane, they must scatter, as each of them will undergo photo taken and fingerprint scanning by immigration. To evade extensive questioning, the man advises them to claim that they can't speak English. Hearing this, Ki-won can only nod in agreement. After passing through immigration, Ki-won heads to the restroom to meet the broker, who will safely guide him to Belgium. Following a brief exchange of identities, Ki-won inquires about an address. The man then proposes to escort him via taxi, but he has to pay a certain amount of money. Agreeing to the arrangement, Ki-won then embarks on a journey lasting several hours until he reaches the refugee registration office. In exchange for his services, Ki-won then pays the man with blood-stained money, but the man returns one bill as the man considers it unlucky. The man then offers his business card in case Ki-won wishes to return to China. However, Ki-won tears it up as he is determined to forge a new and improved life in Belgium. Filling out the refugee status application form proves to be manageable for Ki-won, with assistance from a translator named Mrs. Kim. Mrs. Kim then accompanies Ki-won to an officer, remarking that he is fortunate, as it typically takes 2 months to reach the initial interview stage. During questioning, Ki-won is asked about his identity and background, particularly if he defected from North Korea. Upon verification, it is confirmed that Ki-won defected several years ago and resided in China, specifically in the Yanji region with his mother. Mrs. Kim then expresses curiosity about the source of Ki-won's funds, as he was not known to have worked during his time in Yanji. Ki-won then acknowledges receiving a substantial money from his mother. Expecting a swift process, Ki-won is informed that he must wait for a year for a decision on his refugee status and eligibility for benefits from the Belgian government. Mrs. Kim then advises Ki-won to remain patient until then, as there is little more she can do to assist him. In the cold midnight, Ki-won searches for an affordable inn and settles for a cramped room meant for multiple occupants. While there, he gazes at a photo in his mother's wallet, containing a significant amount of money, even much of it stained with blood. Upon returning from the restroom, Ki-won is startled to find a couple engaged in intimate activities in his room. Wanting to retrieve his money, Ki-won is instead kicked out, leaving him waiting outside the room door. Shortly after, he decides to take the valuable wallet and leave the place, feeling distrustful of the cheap motel. After walking through the bustling city, Ki-won comes across a pay-per-use public restroom. Although he seeks refuge inside the restroom, the biting cold persists, seeping into his bones. Nonetheless, it provides some shelter from the harsh winds sweeping through the city that night. Ki-won then wraps tissue around his feet as his socks are already soaked, and he curls up on the cold restroom floor without any bedding. The following morning, Ki-won faced hunger and thirst. Unable to use the blood-stained money, he resorted to scavenging for leftover food in trash bins, which led to him getting poisoned and vomiting. Determined to earn money, Ki-won began to think of ways to earn money and was inspired by an old man selling used bottles at the mini-market. Following this, Ki-won then collected and sold bottles until he could afford food for the day and the entrance fee to the toilet, where he spent the night. This routine sustained him, even if it only provided him with a simple meal like bread and jam. He continued this for several days and even months. However, one day, Ki-won found himself without shelter when the toilet closed for repairs. Forced to sleep on the streets, he encountered rough treatment from local thugs who threw his shoes into the lake, leading him to fall in while trying to retrieve them, leaving him cold and hungry. Seeking refuge, Ki-won headed to the coin laundry as he only had a few clothes in his bag, but collapsed due to his injuries. Memories of the past flooded back, reminding him of the day he failed to pick up his mother from work, unaware that the police were looking for her at the shop. Forced to flee, Ki-won and his mother hurried along a dark footpath, fearing capture and return to North Korea. Suddenly, at a street junction, a passing car struck Ki-won's mother, leaving her trapped underneath. Despite his shock, Ki-won could do little to help as he watched his mother's dire situation unfold. Shortly after, Ki-won's uncle arrived and tried to move the car, but it was too late to save her. With her dying breaths, Ki-won's mother urged him to escape, hoping he could live freely without hiding his identity. Although torn, he didn't want to leave his mother, but his mother and uncle urged him to leave immediately because the police would come. Back to the present, a Korean girl named Marie approached the unconscious Ki-won and stole his wallet, discovering his North Korean identity. The following day, Ki-won woke up in a police station after reporting the theft. Fortunately, the police swiftly apprehended Marie using CCTV footage and attempted to contact her father for bail. Marie's strained relationship with her father was evident, as she angrily demanded his immediate presence over the phone. Hearing their heated exchange, Ki-won approached Marie and questioned her about the wallet she had stolen. Marie then confessed to discarding the wallet and spending all the money, sparking anger in Ki-won. Ki-won then revealed that the money was obtained from selling his deceased mother's body. Per her final wish, his uncle had arranged the sale after his mother's passing, urging Ki-won to honor her dying request by starting a new life in another country. Distraught by this revelation, Ki-won contemplated self-harm, prompting a struggle between him and his uncle, who urged him to honor his mother's wish and survive. That night, Ki-won visited the site of his mother's death, cleaning the blood-stained streets and mourning her loss. Unable to provide her with a proper burial, Ki-won vowed to fulfill his mother's last wish. Back at the police station, Marie offered to return Ki-won's wallet under the condition that he testify she only stole $30, as the minimum amount for a thief, to avoid detention with a guarantor. Initially reluctant, Ki-won felt Marie lacked shame, but she argued he'd never get his wallet back if she were imprisoned. Eventually they agreed, and Ki-won testified before the police and Marie's father to reconcile. Outside the station, Ki-won immediately asked for his wallet, but Marie promised to return it the next day. She hurried off upon seeing her father, Mr. Yoon-song, arrive. Mr. Yoon-song then offered compensation for Ki-won's lost money, but Marie stopped him, insisting him not to interfere. Instead, she took Ki-won to a bar. After asking Ki-won to wait, Marie descended to a guarded basement room, meeting Cyril. It appeared Marie, a former shooting athlete, had been exploited by Cyril for underground betting. Despite planning to leave Cyril's gang, Marie returned to fulfill her promise to Ki-won. Cyril agreed to return the wallet if Marie won a match against a shooter from the Netherlands, which she agreed to do the following week. As Ki-won waited outside, he felt betrayed when Marie didn't return his wallet. She then explained that the wallet was with a friend and she would return the wallet in a week. But Ki-won wasn't satisfied. He boldly entered the underground room, causing a commotion with the thugs. Marie intervened, urging Ki-won to leave as Cyril began wielding weapons. She promised to keep her word about the wallet, but emphasized they needed to leave immediately to stay safe. Marie then invited Ki-won to her place, advising him to control his emotions better when in a foreign place. Feeling sympathy for Ki-won's situation, Marie asked about his arrival in Belgium and job status. Ki-won admitted it was hard for someone like him to find good work, so he resorted to scavenging. Marie then gave him an agency address to find a job the next day, mentioning the factory boss was Korean and could hire him with a recommendation from his father. Ki-won felt unworthy due to his shabby clothes and feared embarrassing Mr. Yoon-song. Shortly after, Ki-won appeared more tittier in the clothes provided by Marie. The following day, Ki-won went to the agency with a new Korean-Chinese identity, which made it easier for him to secure a job. He was promptly hired at a meat processing factory and met Shan-ju, a fellow Korean-Chinese worker who helped him adjust. On his first day, Ki-won fell victim to a prank, getting locked inside the cold storage. Shortly after, Shan-ju rescued him and explained the door mechanism, advising him to focus on work and ignore the others. Ki-won's situation improved as the factory provided accommodation and transportation. During a bus ride, he discovered Shan-ju smuggling meat packaging hidden under her clothes. Shan-ju then invited Ki-won to her room and enjoyed the meat together. Ki-won remained silent as he watched Shan-ju cook, which made Shan-ju annoyed, thinking Ki-won didn't want to eat stolen meat. Shan-ju explained that she resorted to theft due to the high cost of living in Belgium and a lack of free amenities from the factory. Her life was tougher than Ki-won's as she had to support 4 children back in China. Meanwhile, at the shooting range, Marie's arrival drew a crowd eager to witness her performance and place bets on her victory. However, during practice with her opponent named Julia, Marie lost focus, haunted by memories of her mother's euthanasia. Marie harbored deep resentment towards her father for making such a decision without her knowledge, especially while she was away at school. Since then, Marie became rebellious and left home until she finally fell into drugs. Cyril then approached her in the restroom and injected drugs to boost her morale and focus. After that, Marie returned to the arena, showcasing her precision shooting skills, though the scores showed a close match. In the final round, Marie narrowly defeated the shooter from the Netherlands. Cyril kept his promise and returned her wallet, though Marie didn't expect any reward, despite bringing in significant earnings. She simply desired freedom from drugs and wants to live her own way. Later that evening, Marie returned Ki-won's wallet, just as he arrived home from work. After the exchange, Ki-won invited her to join him for dinner in his room. He went to Shanju's room to inquire about leftover meat, while Marie observed Ki-won's untidy living space. Ki-won made several trips to Shanju's room for seasoning and utensils, impressing Marie with his dedication to preparing a delicious meal. Despite admitting to receiving free vegetables from the market, Ki-won's cooking received praise from Marie, who enjoyed the food and felt satisfied afterward. Following the meal, Marie expressed her desire to leave. As Ki-won escorted her to the end of the street, they were startled by the tea delivery man, who would likely be displeased to find Ki-won had brought a guest. Their awkwardness peaked when Marie inadvertently hugged Ki-won out of fear. The next day, Ki-won was scheduled for an interview regarding his status as a North Korean citizen. He presented a photo of himself and his mother celebrating Labor Day in downtown Pyongyang as evidence. However, the officer retained the photo, and Ki-won struggled to provide further verification, particularly regarding the hospital where his mother's body was sold. This lack of evidence posed a challenge for Ki-won in proving his status as a defector from North Korea. While working, Ki-won was still troubled by Mrs. Kim's remarks. He approached Shanju and asked if she believed he was genuinely from North Korea. Shanju expressed her belief in Ki-won's authenticity based on his manner of speech. After work, intending to buy fish for Shanju, Ki-won instead found himself in a confrontation with locals who accused him of breaking a beer bottle. This incident escalated, leading to Ki-won's arrest as the assault incident went viral online. Shortly after, Marie learned about the situation and considered Ki-won a victim of false accusations. She attempted to visit him, but as she was neither family nor a lawyer, she was denied access. Marie had to seek assistance from her father to provide assurance for Ki-won's release. Upon his release, Mr. Yoon-song advised Ki-won to distance himself from Marie due to her unstable condition, which would only worsen with Ki-won's presence. Mr. Yoon-song also provided a lawyer to handle Ki-won's case. During the citizenship trial, Shanju's testimony disappointed Ki-won. She expressed uncertainty about his citizenship, suggesting that Ki-won might be Chinese claiming to be North Korean to benefit from Belgium's allowances and benefits. Ki-won observed that Shanju seemed to be forced to give a statement that contradicted with her beliefs. Disappointed, he attempted to grab the knife Shanju used, accidentally injuring his palm. Frustrated, Ki-won sought solace from Marie, but found her with Cyril, prompting Marie to ask him to leave, promising to meet later. Meanwhile, Cyril pressured Marie to participate in another match and offered her drugs, which she refused, upsetting him. Cyril insisted on controlling Marie regardless of her current connection, but it was clear that Marie had to remain under his supervision. Not long after, Marie immediately thought of Ki-won, but he had already left the dorm after losing his job at the factory. Now he worked as a waiter, washing dishes and assisting the cook. As time passed, Marie and Ki-won lost contact, and Marie was forced to participate in a shootout due to a wealthy man's significant bet on her victory. Initially, Cyril believed Marie would easily win, but she intentionally missed every shot, resulting in a 0 score. Cyril was furious and tried to chase after Marie, who was leaving to meet someone else. Meanwhile, Shanju eventually discovered where Ki-won worked and promptly apologized for her false testimony, revealing she was forced by the factory boss under the threat of losing her job and facing deportation to China due to visa issues. She expressed regret, knowing she might never return to Belgium. In the end, Ki-won saw Shanju being taken away by the police. One day, Ki-won's lawyer brought promising news. A North Korean defector organization in Belgium agreed to support him during the trial and assist him in giving testimony as he desired. On the lawyer's desk, Ki-won noticed an invitation to the death anniversary of Mr. Yoon-song's wife, who happened to be Marie's mother. As a sign of gratitude, Ki-won attended the event and intended to help with the preparations. During the memorial, as Mr. Yoon-song was delivering his speech, Marie unexpectedly appeared intoxicated, still unable to accept her mother's death and blaming her father, leading to chaos and destroying the food available there. Marie attempted self-harm, feeling as if she had died along with her mother. Ki-won intervened, grabbing the knife from her hand and injuring himself in the process. Following the incident, Ki-won remained concerned about Marie's well-being and decided to check on her at her dorm. To his shock, he discovered thick smoke emanating from her room. Upon breaking down the door, he found a burning stove that almost caused a fire. However, the situation with Marie was even more alarming. Marie appeared to be addicted to drugs, with a man on the verge of injecting her arm. Ki-won intervened and assaulting the man, but Marie, under the influence, viewed Ki-won as a nuisance and demanded he leave. Helpless to control Marie, Ki-won resorted to consuming a large quantity of drugs himself, leading to him losing consciousness. Panicked by Ki-won's condition, Marie desperately sought help from a friend for an antidote after Ki-won began foaming at the mouth, indicating an overdose. After injecting him, Marie felt immense relief and apologized for the ordeal. Ki-won, concerned for Marie's well-being, questioned her motives for using drugs, vowing to support her through her struggles. From that moment on, they became romantically involved, spending time together walking around and buying food at the market. Ki-won occasionally stayed overnight at Marie's dorm, determined to help her out of her troubles. Several days later, Ki-won returned to his citizenship trial with the support from fellow North Koreans who had faced similar challenges. Marie appeared joyful, knowing Ki-won now had a lot of support. Meanwhile, Shanju, now in China, provided crucial evidence in a form of article detailing an accident involving Ki-won's mother, corroborating his story. However, on this crucial day, Marie received a menacing threat from Cyril, compelling her to a certain location, as Cyril threatened harm to Ki-won. Despite the imminent decision in Ki-won's trial, he couldn't shake off concerns for Marie's safety, recalling her distress when they last parted. Following Marie to Cyril's hideout, Ki-won witnessed a tense confrontation as Cyril engaged in a shootout with some individual over Marie's loss. Marie found herself cornered, pressured to shoulder the blame for the losses. They even intended to take Marie abroad to compete in a more high-stakes competitions. But Cyril's objections escalated to violence, culminating in the man's death. Shortly after, Ki-won rushed to Marie's aid, engaging in a fierce struggle with Cyril. Despite his limited fighting skills, Cyril easily overpowered Ki-won and prepared to end his life. In a daring move, Marie seized a pistol, aiming it at Cyril's hand, enabling their escape. Moments later, the hideout was stormed by a gang, resulting in Cyril's demise. Ki-won then comforted Marie, urging her to flee abroad to evade further danger. He also advised her to contact her father to resolve the situation. Although Marie wished to escape with Ki-won, he'd explained that he lacked the right to stay in Belgium or leave the country. The next day, Mr. Yoon-song arranged for Marie to obtain a passport and travel to another country. Marie apologized for her past resentment towards her father, realizing her mother had chosen euthanasia. As they parted ways, Ki-won promised to reunite with Marie one day, urging her to remember their shared experiences. A year later, Ki-won made a difficult decision in his life. Despite securing the right to remain in Belgium, he opted to leave the country permanently. As it turned out, Ki-won intended to join Marie in a country whose inhabitants were very friendly. Upon arrival on an island, Ki-won sought out Marie's whereabouts. He then discovered that she was managing a beachfront restaurant in Bali, Indonesia. Moral lesson from the story: if a stranger offers you money stained with blood, it's probably best to decline. It might lead to more trouble than trying to fish your shoes out of a lake after they've been thrown in by local thugs.